good evening. I'm Melissa Idris. Welcome to Dialog ASEAN25. We're talking about Timor-Leste tonight. Timor-Leste, one of the youngest nations in the world, having gained independence just over 2 decades ago. Now it stands on the brink of a major milestone, full ASEAN membership. Now, with Malaysia chairing ASEAN this year, it is taking the lead in accelerating Timor-Leste's ascension. So today on the show, we will be taking a closer look at Timor-Leste's journey, its challenges, and what full membership means, not just for the country, but also for the region. Joining me on the show today, I'm delighted to introduce His Excellency Liswaldo Gaspar, Timor-Leste Ambassador to Malaysia, and Dr. Koo Ying Hui, who is an Associate Professor in the Department of International and Strategic Studies at University Malaya. Last year, she was appointed part of the International Advisory Member of the Centro Nacional Shega. She's the first Malaysian in this role. Welcome, both of you, to the show. It's good of you to join me.
Thank you very much.
We have lots to talk about, but I think, Ambassador, if I may begin with you, I think for many in our region, Timor-Leste is really known for its kind of hard-fought independence, its resilience as a young nation, but maybe many might not follow its developments so closely. So how would you describe, for those of us watching tonight, how would you describe Timor-Leste today?
Thank you very much for inviting me to come to Astro AWANI. Just to share that Timor-Leste is located in Southeast Asia. We share half of the island with Indonesia, 400 kilometers from north of Darwin. We restore our independence in 20 May 2002. Our population is 1.3 million, predominantly Catholic, but our first Prime Minister was a Muslim. And our economy rely heavily on petroleum, oil and gas. And we, in terms of ASEAN, we apply for our membership into ASEAN in 2011. And in 2022, we, in principle, ASEAN leaders accepted us to be a member and granted us as observer status. So we are in the process of fulfilling all the requirement under the roadmap for our membership into ASEAN. So that's
in a nutshell, that's the country. Ying Hui, if I may come to you, how did your journey with Timor-Leste begin? What drew you to working with the nation, studying the country?
Well, thanks, Melissa. Well, I first visited Timor, Dili, actually, in 2013. It's actually, I was part of the government-to-government project where I was involved with the diplomatic training course in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Cooperation in Dili. And since then, I've been visiting Timor, and I come to realize that while learning about Timor, what really strikes me is that I actually learned Timor from the music and the culture, because I think Timorese really likes music and very good in drawings, paintings. If you visit Dili, you will see a lot of wall paintings, and they are very good at that. And they are also very oral, and in terms of they are very expressive as well. And I started to learn about it, and I realized that there has been too limited knowledge about Timor, such a beautiful country in the regions. Hence, I started to visit and conduct a little bit of research here and there as
When you say limited knowledge, what do you mean in terms of academic research, literature? What are the gaps in written knowledge and the knowledge that we have about Timor?
Yeah. Well, in the beginning, whenever I ask Malaysians, "Do you know Timor?" they will tell me that I know Timor because from the football. So, but beyond that, they do not know about Timor as what the ambassador has described just now, Catholic countries and 1.3 million people. So I think those are the things that we should really look at. And of course, from the scholarship, not many people actually write about Timor, especially from the Southeast Asia. We can find a lot of Australian, Portuguese scholars writing about Timor, but not really that many from the Southeast Asia. And this is where also bring me to, well, this particular topic, whereby I feel not only they are geographically situated inside Southeast Asia itself, but I think culturally and many others, there are strong linkages with the Southeast Asia.
Ambassador, as someone who represents Timor-Leste today, when you look back on the journey of your very young country, what stands out the most about how far your countrymen have come?
Look, we have experience of struggle for our independence, and the struggle that we gain, and then the distractions that follow, and that's the challenge that we have. So we started our independence, restoring our independence, and then start the development from scratch. And then we are building our institutions, very fragile institutions. Lots of we also experience internal conflict, and then we overcome those conflict, and now we are in the path of development. The government is prioritizing developing the country, having program diversifying our economy, and that's where we come from and how we are at the moment now.
It's a very youthful country. A lot of your population are under the age of 40, yes?
That's right, about 65% of our population. Yeah.
And in terms of economic development, you mentioned independence in oil and gas. How has the journey been in terms of getting the country to be economically developed? How would you describe it, Ambassador?
Now, the diversification of our economy is one of the priority of our government. And in our program, we focus on sectors that will diversify our economy. Of course, in the foreseeable future, we will continue rely on petrochemical industry as a backbone of our economy, but it's also paved the way for our other sector like tourism, agriculture, and also fisheries to diversify our economy. And we are, of course, with the process of joining ASEAN, we have to comply with the procedures and norms in ASEAN. That's helped us a lot in terms of, we learn practices, how regulations in ASEAN country will need to comply. And that's a process that we're very helpful in terms of not only preparing us to join ASEAN, but also to look at how we can diversify our economy in the process.
Ambassador mentioned a bit earlier that Timor has had to build all of its institutions from scratch, essentially. From your perspective, how would you describe where Timor is now in its development journey? Oh, before I go there, let me clarify. The name of the country is Timor-Leste after independence, is that right? And previously it was East Timor. How would you describe it?
So Portuguese is one of our official language, and East Timor in Portuguese Timor-Leste. So
okay. And
that's we adopt.
So
the official name is the Democratic Republic of Timor-Leste.
Timor-Leste. So we'll refer to it as Timor-Leste on the show. Yinghui, if I may ask you, where you think Timor-Leste is in its development journey?
Well, what makes Timor-Leste is really interesting as an additional member into the ASEAN with different flavors and different systems and so forth is that when we talk about human rights and democracy, Timor-Leste is arguably one of the top, not only in Southeast Asia, but also Asia. But also what's very interesting is that when you probe more insight to the structures, in the Southeast Asia, we always talk about the issues when it comes to civil and political rights. But in Timor, I think the challenge is developmental rights as pointed out by ambassadors. And if you look at the Human Development Index, it is still rather low. And also, if you look at the poverty line, they are still over about 40% of the people still living under the poverty line as well. I think those numbers are high, but I think within the ASEAN spirit, this is where it comes from. Because if you look at the experience of Laos, Myanmar, Cambodia, Vietnam in the past, this is where I think people also link with, how these four countries, CLMF, being part of the ASEAN. And can we adopt the same for the country Timor-Leste as well? So developmental challenges still exist in Myanmar, Cambodia. So I think that will be really enriching when we have the 11 members.
So Timor-Leste is often cited as in a small nation but big history.
Yeah.
On the world stage today, where do you see Timor-Leste? Are there ambitions of wanting to play more of a role, not just within the region, not just within ASEAN, but are there aspirations for more?
Look, as a member of international community and responsible country, we would like to contribute in the peace and development of the world. We are making a modest contribution through the establishment of what we call G7+, small small countries, fragile countries that born out of conflict. We share our experience how, especially in dealing with aid effectiveness and also conflict prevention. And that's how, from our own experience, we share those to other fragile countries. And also, we also show to the world about reconciliation. We have a history with Indonesia in the past, but I can say that we have the best possible relation you could ever imagine with the former administrator or whoever in your country, with Indonesia. And we have very good relation. That shows how Timor-Leste can reconcile with the past, building strong relation with the neighbor and the prosperity in the country. And that's to ensure that the region is stable and peaceful.
I actually think that's a wonderful point and not highlighted enough. Timor-Leste's experience and how reconciliation is really embedded in the country. Can you talk to me a little bit about that? How did you manage to come together as a country and reconcile such a tragic past with your neighbors, with Indonesia, and now want to be part of a communal ASEAN community?
To begin, our struggle was clear that we want independence, and all the struggle, the fight was against the regime, the Indonesian regime, the previous regime that occupied the country, and that is the foundation. And we never have targeted. During our struggle, we never targeted Indonesian civilians. So all the struggle was against the regime, and of course we get the independence. And after the independence, as a neighboring country, we see that, thanks largely to our leaders, that to see that to have stable Timor-Leste, we need to have a good relation with Indonesia. And we are at the very early, we normalize our relation with Indonesia, which is very important. And I have to say also that Indonesia as a neighbor been playing a very constructive role in our development. You know, we know that many parts of the world, there are conflict that because your neighbor so mean to you. Thanks, Indonesia play very constructive role as a neighbor to Timor-Leste, and that for that we can concentrate on our national development.
Yinghui, what do you make of the Timor-Leste reconciliation story?
Yeah, well, of course, the relationship with Indonesia from the Timor-Leste's position is quite clear, coming from the office, the government. But I think there's also more critical views about it, about the relationship between the two. I think especially when the elections of the Prabowo and with his past histories. And I think if you look at the politics within Indonesia itself, the students are staging the protest, Indonesia Gelap. So there have been quite a bit of the things that they are not satisfied with Prabowo. And of course, if you look at the human rights groups have been calling for a more investigations into what has happened in the past. And yes, I do agree of forgiving and forget, but I think the other portion is that those victims who have not received sufficient reparations and many others that I think it has been overlooked. But I think this is also the price of when there's a bilateral relations from the foreign policy dimension. I think I still believe that we should not also dismiss the critical view when it comes to this, especially coming from the people, the survivors' point of view.
Your perspective, do you think, based on your observations, do you think reconciliation is more surface level, or is it really accepted deeply?
Well, I would say that inside and outside the countries, when there are human rights groups that are working on the Timor-Leste's reconciliations and the issues, as I earlier mentioned, there are still human rights groups who are working hard on this to get the sufficient mechanisms that can be put in place about the survivors who are still inside Timor. And I think that is part of course, is domestic problems that they have to deal with, and later on with Timor-Leste, with
Could
Indonesia.
I just add some more information on that? I think, of course, Timor-Leste is a democratic country. Our civil society is very open and criticize or make known their voice. But for the fact that we have about 5,000 Timorese studying in Indonesia on their own money, their families sending their own children to study in Indonesia. It shows how we are accepting, the relation with Indonesia, and also at government level, we are sending our officials and different ministries to be trained in Indonesia. So we have the past. We have moved on with the process of reconciliation. We have now established a very good relation, which is we are proudly can share with others. I think many conflict in the world should try how to learn how we can reconcile with Indonesia.
From the Timor-Leste experience, can I ask you where Malaysia comes in? What is Malaysia's relationship to Timor-Leste's nation-building journey?
Malaysia, the government of Malaysia and the people have been very supportive to Timor-Leste's nation building. Prime Minister Dr. Mahathir was the first foreign head of government to visit Timor-Leste in 2003 and came with support, very significant support. And also Malaysian government was very few government that offer to host us, host our embassy in Kuala Lumpur, paying the rent, providing financial assistance. That was something that we are eternally grateful. But also throughout the years providing technical assistance, support to our officials. And of course for ASEAN, Malaysian government, the current Prime Minister, Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim, very supportive and make personal effort and commitment to want to ensure that if possible Timor-Leste can join ASEAN this year. And not only in political statement but also in practical capacity building and also technical assistance that enable our officials to participate meaningfully in ASEAN. So those are the assistance that the government of Malaysia and the people extend to us. Some Malaysians business sector are doing business in Timor-Leste, and shows the strong relation that we have, and we are very grateful for that.
I like the participate meaningfully in ASEAN. I'll come back to that in a little bit, Ambassador, but I do want to ask you how you would reflect on Malaysia's connection to the Timor-Leste struggle.
Well, I think since the 2002, Malaysia is actually the first countries in Southeast Asia that established the office in Dili, and that is something that, of course, the Malaysian government has been very active in supporting Timor-Leste. But of course, if we go back to the history, there were also dark histories in terms of how the ASEAN member states have not been very vocal in terms of the Timor-Leste's restoration of independence in the past. But there was back then in the past, where because there was very limited awareness and things about countries of Timor-Leste itself. So I think those histories are still very important for the Southeast Asians to learn. So this is what I see as a both way. So now that Malaysia as an ASEAN chair, I think not only about the membership, but I think the both sides, Timor-Leste governments and the Malaysian governments also need to activate in terms of awareness about these countries to be a member in the ASEAN, because after all, they have been applying the membership since 2011.
It has been a very
it's a long
wait.
journey.
Yes.
Yeah.
So talk to me, Ambassador, about how confident you are that Timor-Leste will be able to meet all the obligations. So it's 88 legal instruments, or quite a complex framework of fulfilling the full membership requirements. Are you confident that you can meet all of these obligations by this year?
ASEAN country has endorsed a roadmap for Timor-Leste's membership. There are 7 criteria in the roadmap, and we are making effort to fulfill all the requirements. There are, you rightly say, about 88 instruments. Out of those 88, there are 65 instruments on economic pillar that quite challenging.
So the majority is economic pillars.
That's right, 66. For political and socio-cultural pillars instrument, we are ready to accede, but also there are instruments that need to discuss, negotiate with ASEAN member countries. For all the 65 instruments, we are ready, and from our self-assessment, this is what our self-assessment, that we are ready, and about 75% we can fulfill those requirements under the economic pillar instrument. So we have been participating actively in ASEAN meetings. The last ASEAN ministerial meeting in Langkawi, ASEAN Secretariat reported that we participate about 84% of all ASEAN meetings, shows the commitment we have to join ASEAN. So we are harmonizing our legislations, and also we are making progress in terms of building our capacity, human resource, our investing in our infrastructure as a nation building, in our national building, but also conditions to join ASEAN. So I can confidently say that we have made tremendous progress in fulfilling roadmap, and we are in the right track for membership into ASEAN.
Well, you mentioned building capacity, and I think that has been at the crux of some of the observers' concerns around the full membership of Timor-Leste into ASEAN, the ability for the country to have institutional capacity, the administrative capacity, the economic foundations, shall we say. How would you address those concerns, the skepticism from some of those observers?
The government realized those shortcomings, and the government established a special fund for human development. It's we call Fundo Capital Desenvolvimento Humano. It's a human capital development fund to address the skills and the knowledge that we have. You know, we are sending students to further study in many countries, including in Malaysia. This year we are sending about 30 Timorese students on government scholarship, and also we are sending officials to further enhance their skills and advance their knowledge. So the government put specific fund on that, but also we are very grateful for ASEAN member countries, especially Malaysia, been very supportive, providing training capacity building to our officials. Last year, about 8 tailored course provided to Timorese as part of the preparation. That's only for Timorese, but also there are big number of training courses provided by Malaysia to Timorese, just a part of preparation to join ASEAN. Also other ASEAN member countries also extend the same support to us in terms of building our capacity. So all in all, in country we have mindful of those sort coming, so we put aside our budget for that, but also the support of ASEAN country and also external development partners, external partners of ASEAN, we are addressing those.
So the work to build capacity has already begun.
Yes, we are addressing it.
Yinghu, what do you think? How would you address those concerns that, because joining ASEAN is just the first step, right? Then Timor-Leste will have to function as a full member. Are you concerned that it might struggle post full membership?
Yeah, I think one of the resistance from some of the ASEAN member states is really about, because now we have 3 community pillars. I think the concern is really on the ASEAN economic pillar, because we are talking about regional economic integration right now. So when we talk about the legal mechanisms and the agreements, I think Malaysian government recently gave $200,000 US to help in terms of providing capacities and things like that in preparing Timor-Leste as a full member. But I think all this also started where we now have the ASEAN Charter. In the past, we do not have ASEAN Charter. Now we have ASEAN Charter, which is come into effect in 2007, 2008, whereby there's a clause in putting the criteria for the memberships. So I think the 4 criteria, Timor has fulfilled the above 3. The last is, of course, related to the capacities and things. But there are also suggestions to say that, in the past, if we look at the experience of CLMV, Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, and Vietnam, what happens during the 1990s when they were admitted into the ASEAN is that they have not fulfilled everything. So what the ASEAN spirit was really talking about, ASEAN unities. So I think those are the spirits that we should have in terms of talking about the issues of Timor-Leste to be admitted into ASEAN. Because if we look at your ambassador mentioning about the roadmap, who are just being adopted recently in 2023. But I think back then, especially in 2019, I think Timor-Leste came out with Timor-Leste, the mobilization program, the critical elements of accession. So those are to prepare them to be part of the ASEAN. So I think skepticism will always be there. After all, if you look at the GDPs of Timor, it is higher than Myanmar, Cambodia, for instance. So I think economic-wise, of course, there will be member states who have their resistance. But I think we should really assess this situation in a broader dimension, whereby it is a country that has shown interest, and we have given them the observer status in 2002, and they have been there for a long time waiting. And I think they should come to the sense where the door should be open, whereby the commitment is there. But nonetheless, I must say there will be challenges inside the Timor itself, because they have to give financial contribution. That will be one of the challenges, because all the members will have to provide in terms of that. But I think what's more challenging domestically for Timor-Leste is the domestic factors that within the ASEAN. That one, the awareness is still rather low, I must say. People have, not everybody understands that what are the benefits. I think we also talk about what are the benefits of Timorese being part of the ASEAN. But I think what we must also avoid is the marginalization of the Timorese themselves inside the country when they enter into ASEAN. So I think there are several concerns that...
Well, why are you concerned that there could be marginalization of Timor-Leste?
Because when the economy is being integrated, there will be migrations, there will be people coming in to invest. Yes, investment is good, but I think not if we exclude Timor right now, if we look at just the ASEAN member states, the exclusion is always on the poor, who have not actually enjoyed the benefits of all this economic growth. I think those are the things that Timor will need to avoid being one of the most democratic countries that championing the human rights and democracy.
And the member states must also be cognizant of not compounding the marginalization. Ambassador, how would you respond to what Ying has just brought up?
Look, as part of our preparation to join ASEAN, we have conducted nationwide dissemination information. I think we have administratively we have 13 districts or municipalities, and we have conducted awareness campaign or all the districts. So at least people know about the intention join ASEAN, and of course we explain what is ASEAN, what will be the benefit. So we have conducted that nationwide, and of course for sectorals we have conducted also discussion group with Chamber of Commerce and private sector. So we are in the country we are doing that. But could I just come back to those observation concern? I think two ways I will look at this. I think those observations are sort of open and honest observation from ASEAN member countries to us to ensure that they are taking serious of our application, so that once we become a member, we will be, play active role. But secondly, it's also reflect to us that we can show our obligations, our commitment to overcome those, concerns and, adhere to ASEAN norm and role, so that once we become member of ASEAN, we will play active role and not become a burden in ASEAN. And of course, on financial contribution, I think Timor-Leste have budget to sustain all the participation.
Just to satisfy them, to allay any concerns that Timor-Leste has the budget for the financial contribution. Can I ask you, so it was 2011 that they first applied. That's a long time to be waiting. Do you think ASEAN has been too slow in granting Timor-Leste full membership?
Yeah. I think the Timor-Leste's president has wanted to say that to enter ASEAN is like climbing the ladders to the heaven or something like that. So he was describing it that it is a very difficult journey. But I think President Jose Ramos Horta played a very important role, whereby he was part of the Timor-Leste government's the advisory role in terms of preparing Timor to be part of ASEAN. So he has been waiting there for a long time. So if you read on his interview, he was already advocating that even way before. He was saying when he was in his 20s that he was already saying that Timor should be part of ASEAN.
Wow.
Yes. So it was a long wait. So now the timing is that you also see Jose Ramos Horta as the president now.
Yes.
So he has been playing a very big role in terms of advocating for Timor-Leste as part of the ASEAN. And I think the commitments is something that we cannot dismiss at all. The commitment from Timor to join ASEAN. Yes, there are people who are still concerned about the capacities, which we have all acknowledged.
Right.
And it is not something that only Timor is facing. So among the ASEAN member states, there were still all these challenges coming from the members who might be not as active or who might be still underdeveloped compared to the others. But I think it is really within the ASEAN Charter spirit that we should actually uplift. Yes. So I think they say people to center, and then they say ASEAN centralities. And I think geographically, it is very clear that Timor-Leste, yes. So, and especially if you talk about security concern, Yeah, when we talk about maritime security, when we talk about human trafficking, I think you cannot dismiss the role of a small countries within your geographical boundaries. And when we talk about security, it's transnational security, and it is the things that the ASEAN member states need, and also the Timor as well.
Could I just give one example, our commitment? I think the commitment to join ASEAN is shared by everybody in the country. You know, the president, the government, the parliament, those that in the government, and also the opposition. We launched our ASEAN Secretariat in Ministry of Foreign Affairs in January 2009. That's way before we apply for membership. For that launch, the parliament adjourned the budget discussion in the parliament to attend those launch. The budget discussion is the most important bill in any country. But the parliament adjourned the discussion, the debate of the budget, to attend the launch of ASEAN Secretariat. It shows the commitment of the country.
And at that point, not even applying.
We have not applied yet.
Yes,
that's
amazing.
January 2009.
Okay, till back then there was the strongest desire at the highest level. Can I ask you? You mentioned, Ambassador, that Timor-Leste is looking forward to playing an active role in ASEAN. How would you describe that? Should Timor-Leste get the ASEAN membership this year, what role you'll be playing inside the regional bloc? Are you thinking more of a passive member? Would it be a more passive member? Would it be, or does it intend to play more of a active role in shaping ASEAN's policies, particularly its approach to human rights, which Timor has such a history and has a strong standing in?
Look, our aspiration to join ASEAN is a long aspiration, and of course we want to contribute to the peace and stability in the region, and we want to be an active player in the region through ASEAN. And being a new member, you know, we are mindful of the limitations. We need to get used to all the rules and know the procedures. But of course, there will be time that we can see where are areas that we might want to take some initiative. Probably, you know, a small country that we are facing challenge of climate change, plastic pollution. Those are the areas that we might, you know, initiate some cooperation within ASEAN. But that's, you know, needs to be seen once we are there. But of course, there are principles that for us dearly to our heart that we continue advocate once even to join ASEAN.
Yinghu, what about you? Are you hoping to see Timor-Leste play a more active role within the bloc? I mean, taking into consideration the non-interference principles of ASEAN, there is still a responsibility of member states to speak up when they see human rights abuses. We have had hope that the 5-point consensus plan would have addressed or made progress in the Myanmar crisis, but so far no progress. What do you think? Would Timor-Leste's full ascension into the membership of ASEAN be the catalyst for more action, more dynamism within the bloc?
I certainly hope so.
Okay.
But I'm not so sure when they become the members, will they be stirring up a little bit of the dynamics within the ASEAN itself, because I think what we really need is that to move beyond the non-interference policy. I think it is a policy that can be tweaked. And especially when it comes to what happens in Myanmar, I think Malaysia has taken a step to appoint the special envoy, Osman Hashim, as part of the to actually look into the Myanmar issue. That is a good step. But however, I think the challenge is really within the ASEAN member states, the internal fragmentations that Malaysia should will have to deal with in coming, being as one regional organizations that look into the Myanmar issues seriously, and hopefully that will actually pave the way for ASEAN really look into the human rights issues in the region, because we cannot also dismiss the role of ASEAN Intergovernmental Commission on Human Rights. So we have a regional human rights mechanism, and it is not a mechanism that exists in every part of the region, but we are one of them. So I think it is also really the time for us to activate that.
How much power or weight or gravitas would Malaysia have as ASEAN chair to make sure that Timor-Leste is always an agenda in discussions, at the forefront of thought? How much influence does Malaysia as chair have?
Well, I would think that this is where a lot of us were saying that this is the opportunities that Malaysia as an ASEAN chair shouldn't miss, in terms of convincing all the ASEAN member states to endorse officially Timor-Leste as the 11th ASEAN member state, which I think Malaysia has in the past consistently support the membership. And there was not once that they have said that we do not support. And I think this is the time that they should walk the talk. And I must say this is the opportunity for Malaysia to be a regional player in terms of from ASEAN point of view. Yeah.
Okay.
Let me just add on one point on that issue. During the handover of chairmanship of ASEAN to Malaysia in Laos last year, Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim said that the future of ASEAN should include Timor-Leste. If the vision of ASEAN is peace, stability and prosperity in Southeast Asia, Timor-Leste is located in Southeast Asia, and that's why I think Prime Minister said that the future needs to include Timor-Leste. And as I said, Malaysian government been very supportive, and as a chairs, they put priority of accession of Timor-Leste to ASEAN, to expedite the accession of Timor-Leste to ASEAN, which is we are very grateful.
Okay, so I have a few minutes left, and I do want to hear your final thoughts, the both of you. Ambassador, if I may begin with you, if you had to make the case very quickly why Timor-Leste needs to be granted full membership today or this year, in one sentence, what would you say? Why accept Timor-Leste now?
Now, we are in Southeast Asia and we have made tremendous progress to fulfill all the requirements.
And you are ready?
That's right.
Okay. And what about you? How would you make the case, or what are your observations into how ASEAN should accept Timor-Leste? Why we should accept Timor-Leste?
Well, I would say this from the Malaysian's perspective. I think as Malaysia is very active in terms of bringing itself as a middle powermanship, I think this is the opportunity that Malaysia as an ASEAN chair shouldn't be missed, whereby, as I earlier on mentioned, we have consistently support the application of Timor-Leste as the 11th ASEAN member state, and this is precisely the opportunity whereby 2025 is where there are many documents that have the deadline, and we are starting some new documents. So I certainly hope that this year will be the year, and without talking about this over and over again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's talk about the future then. If we could imagine 10 years from now what Timor-Leste would be like, hopefully a full member of ASEAN and reaping all the benefits. Ambassador, what's your vision? What do you hope for Timor-Leste to be like in 10 years?
10 years, of course, we already wanted to be a member.
10 years ago?
Yes, that's right. But of course, we would, I would envision that especially we will inline our rules and procedures on economic pillar, and we have benefited from the procedures that from this process to diversify our economy, integrated fully in the region, especially on participate meaningfully in economic activities, whereas for political and socio-cultural issues, there should be no problem.
Yeah. Ying Hui, can I ask you, as an outside observer, but clearly someone who loves the country and is a champion for progress of the country, where would you like to see Timor-Leste in 10 years?
Well, I would certainly like to see the compatibility of civil and political rights and developmental rights in terms of for Timor-Leste become a fully democratic country. And I think we should not dismiss the role of democracy, human rights and peace all together.
Both of you, thank you so much for being on the show. It's
Thank
been
you.
such a pleasure talking to you and learning more about the country. And I hope that we all took a little bit more knowledge about Timor-Leste away with us tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Melissa Idris signing off for the evening. See you next time. Good night.